Hi, welcome to Sugar Free. This is an all signs reading for the period of today, the full moon in Gemini, I believe, right through to the solstice. Because we are rapidly now getting to the longest night and the shortest day, that little fulcrum, that little tipping point. So we're going to look at that going into the darkness, that dark period that's going to happen around the new moon, which is on the 12th. It's going to be really effing dark then. And then there's just this weird little gap. I might do another pull on that in due course, that weird little gap between that new moon and the solstice. That's going to be like a little kind of vacuum point. It's going to be very interesting. So yeah, that's the theme of this pull, a kind of big picture look at the energies for the next, 3 weeks, 3 and a bit weeks. So let's go. I've got here the major arcana of the ancient Italian tarot and a major arcana of the Rider-Waite, which I'll pop down there. May or may not use that later. I've got here the minor arcana of the Rider-Waite split into its suit. So I'm going to pull 3 major arcana cards. The first one I'm going to pull is like the immediate energy. And we must remember, it struck me earlier today, that the immediate energy is the result of every single bit of previous energy. So it's the present, but the past is in the present, is it not? Because every single action we've taken has created a reality that wouldn't, as far as we know, exist without us having taken that action. Every single little action, even just like, I don't know, scratching your head or something. I was going to say something far worse there, but never mind. Every single action, everything is shuffled, by the way. I've had a good old shuffle. So let's go with this major arcana energy. I've got reversals here. I'll take a decision on whether to take reversals here in due course. So, right, we've got the sun in the reverse. Well, there you go. Like certainly in the northern hemisphere, the sun is the most inaccessible to us in this period coming up. We've got the tower. This second position represents the hidden energy, what is acting upon the situation that we do not see. And there are all sorts of forces at work in us and in our surroundings that we do not see. And that's not a conspiracy, that's just bloody fact. So yeah, that's that one. And okay, the choice, the lovers. Choosing what you really want. And today I'm not seeing this. This is the bigger picture energy, this final card here. I'm not seeing like a paradigm shift really in this card today, which is what I often see, and a kind of stepping up, like fired on by one's own sometimes inexplicable desires there in that little cherub. I'm not saying that today. What I'm seeing is the power of choosing what you really want simply because you want it. And that doesn't mean disregarding everything else, but it means being true to yourself about what you really want. So let's start clarifying. I mean, this tower sitting in the middle here, you know, this is, I mean, all energy is powerful in its own way, but this is quick, it's unexpected, it's unbidden, it's unchosen, unplanned, unscheduled. What's that? Rapid, unscheduled disassembly. Boom. There it is. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Oh dear, dear, dear. Yeah, sometimes it's a blessing, the Tower. Sometimes it's a blessing. And yeah, this Sun in reverse, this lack of resolution, lack of sort of negotiated settlements on things, lack of that. So that's what we're coming in with. But we've got to remember there's a whole heap of stuff that got us to where we are now and how we see where we are now. And that's what we're going to look at now. Whole heap of stuff. And it will be interesting to see how the past influencing the present, because I mean, everything's unfolding. The only place where the past doesn't exist is in the absolute present. Absolute present, where even the self, the identified self, self-identified self doesn't exist. It's pure, it's unalloyed presence. And anyway, let's have a look. Right. We've got the Knight of Pentacles. I am going to take reversals in reverse. So we've got sort of a very kind of heavy energy of blockage, of lack of movement, lack of progress. And I mean, even when the Knight of Pentacles is in the upright, it's not fast moving energy, not in the slightest. But it's like sort of glacial. It's like the way glaciers move, imperceptible. But you go away for a year and you come back and you look at it and it's not in the same place. But it's in reverse. This is either, I'll tell you what, the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this, the first word that came to my mind before I started going on about blocked energy was immoderate. Because this is a moderate energy, all right? There's nothing rushy about it. It takes its time and it cooks the deal, whatever it is. It cooks it nice and slow. And it's inexorable. And it delivers. And it delivers reliably, obviously, because it's taken its time and it's done things step by step. The first word, as I said, was the exact opposite of that. This is not a blockage reversal. This is an opposite reversal. Possibly, I mean, I was banging on about the past. Possibly this is a past influence. Let's keep going. I mean, the Pentacles are about energy exchange, all right? And part of that is money, naturally. I mean, everything is vibrating energy in the final analysis. Tiny, tiny, tiny little bits of vibrating energy in empty space. Okay. 5 of Wands. Unwinnable wars. Futile, sort of meaningless, low grade, like squabbling. It's just squabbling. And it's just a sort of low grade spirit of himsa, which I believe means hostility or violence. I mean, hostility and violence. I mean, all violence is hostile, but not all hostility is like violent in that sense. But yeah, there's the yogic concept of ahimsa, without violence. And I mean, you know, if you try to practice ahimsa, if you really try to practice it thoroughly, by God, it's just like this litany of failure. Like every time you sort of sigh angrily because some twit on the road has done some twittish thing, that is himsa, for example. So perhaps there's just been like too much of that, mate. Too much of that. Let's carry on. 5 of Swords in the reverse. Choosing your words carefully to like using words as a kind of not get out of jail free card, but certainly to sort of try to bring about a particular outcome in your favor, and it's hidden. I mean, this is a bit brazen, isn't it? In picking up those swords, like he's like the sword master. And those poor people there, they're just effed. Look at them. Fucking hell. And all that sorrow in that great big expanse of water. Yeah, it's not comfy, is it? But at least that's out in the open. And I mean, it's a distraction of trauma on the part of those 2 figures in the background that is allowing him to get away with this, and just the sort of head spinny energy of trauma, you know, to whatever degree, but it's hidden here. So there's a kind of sleight of hand. Like I say, you know, in the upright, this is like pretty brazen, but it's, and perhaps just sort of like chancy, like what's the word, opportunistic. But in the reverse here, I'm getting that this is deliberately hidden, these kind of little games played with words. And I mean, you know, if you're going to use words, if you're going to play games with words to achieve a particular outcome, then, you know, you better be good at it. I don't know, maybe that's, maybe in the upright, this would be someone actually like being good at it. Of sort of like, I don't know, like bending the truth a little bit or something, or you know, leaving a crucial bit out of what you tell someone, or like putting a, like embellishing something a little bit. Maybe that would be the capacity to do that, and whatever the upshots are in whatever particular situation or reading. But perhaps it's just like artlessness with it. And I mean, that's in the kind of ball, in the kind of arena of immoderation, isn't it? I mean, this is immoderate. This like ridiculous, futile, like fucking stick waving episode here. That's immoderate. I mean, what a waste of energy. This is wasted energy here, the 5 of Wands. Okay, let's see what's in the cups. Where's that coming? Yeah, 3 of Cups in the reverse. Three of Cups in the reverse. Well, you know, that's the upshot, isn't it? Like breakage of happy bonds or happy connections. Breakage of that. That's the upshot of all this ridiculousness. This is really sad. Sun in reverse, topped off by the 3 of Cups in reverse. Yeah, it's pretty flipping sad, mate. What can I tell you? Let's have a look at this. I mean, this is the only like natural upshot of this, which is why there's this you know, this reversal of the happily ever after card. Resolution. And a sort of, yeah, like I said before, a negotiated settlement on something being resolved in a kind of joyful way, coming to a really, really good upshot. It's in the flipping reverse, mate. What a shame. So let's see. I mean, the Tower in this position in this 3-card spread, like I said, the hidden energy. I mean, it's difficult to hide that, isn't it? So perhaps this isn't about a particular event. Perhaps this is about just that like the quality of existence, self-aware existence, the quality of that, our experience of being alive. There's like a portion of it, there's a sliver of it where the utterly flipping random can act upon you. For example, just an example that comes to my mind, you could be driving along one day, certainly here in the UK, in rural England, you could be driving along any day now and go like hit a pothole or have a flipping tree like fall off on you because things have not been properly maintained. And that could change your life forever, you know, in a bad way or in a good way. You know, if you like smack your front wheel up on a bloody pothole, you know, someone comes to rescue you, whoever comes to rescue you could end up being or leading you to the love of your life, for example. Because you just don't know. It's neutral, all right? I mean, I know it's depicted here as, you know, this sort of destructive act. But that seam in the spectrum of different kind of ways of being or ways that being can unfold itself as it constantly does, there is this like kind of wild card of that bolt from the blue, and everything that you thought you understood, everything that was on a firm foundation, everything that brought you security and power in the world, suddenly rapid unscheduled disassembly. So let's pull on this now. Okay. We got the Eight of Pentacles in the reverse. And what I'm getting off this is that under this energy, under this Tower energy, you cannot flip in, bury your head in the sand and look the other way. You just can't do it. You can't do it. Like, there is no way you can not look up. You remember that some film, wasn't it? Don't Look Up or something? You can't not look up. It's like, it's too like in your face. This Knight of Wands. Well, there's another in your face card. Like, he comes charging in. I mean, you're not going to miss him, are you? You're not going to miss him, you know, unless you're like unfortunately out of town on the other side of those mountains. You know, this is like da 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 kind of thing. Oh man, wonderful, wonderful. I'm glad he's in the upright. This, however, is in the reverse, the Ace of Swords. Stuff not said. There's a motivation here today for me in the Knight of Wands here, the Knight of Rods. This is about motivation. This is about kind of embodying motivation and taking action based on motivation. And that will to create in the world, which is what wands are about, to take action, to manifest in the world. You know, that will to live basically is strong, is strong. And there's a kind of fortitude in the face of this. But this is so quiet. maybe there just are no words for the nature of this tower energy. All our lives can change in a flash. Sure, I did this experiment. It wasn't an experiment. I sort of chose to do this for a very limited amount of time. I decided that unless something actually needed to be said by me, and unless I was 100% satisfied in myself that I meant it, I just wasn't going to say anything. So it had to be both necessary. It had to be both of these things. It had to be necessary and kind of karmically neutral in order for me to actually say something. It was a very, very interesting experience. I couldn't keep it up for long, as you might have guessed. But I mean, this really kind of like unidentifiable energy. I mean, the random is the only word I can put on it, but there's nothing random about this. This is like a deeper sort of seam of energy. This is personified energy. This is self-will. And it requires no explanation. You know, how could it, in the end, you just have to say it is what it is, what it is. And I mean, yeah, we can kind of find out a lot about the nature of the building materials of that tower from its wreckage if we wanted to. You know, we can study and work out and come to know how sort of lightning works and how physics works and all of that. But we can never explain why then, at that time, in that place. And it changed everything. That cannot explain. Which is why it's just this. It's this. This is like karma, this Knight of Swords. Karma meaning action. And I mean the pleasant and unpleasant and good and not so good and productive and unproductive upshots of our actions. That's another aspect of karma. But the word karma actually means action. And yeah, nothing kind of need be said about that, let alone in this sort of like cack-handed way here in the Five of Swords in the reverse. I mean, what can you say about something that wasn't there and then in an instant was? What can you say about that? There's fuck all to say, isn't there? Okay. And I've got the 10 of Cups in the reverse. Yeah, you never get to the end of the rainbow, man, ever. And that's not a complaint. That's simply a statement of fact. I mean, there do come times in our lives when certain things are no longer possible. But that doesn't mean that every aspect of whatever those things are is off the table at all. You know, you adjust your vision of the future to fit the circumstances and the capacities in whatever situation. But there is no like point at which happily ever after is attained and things being exactly the way you want them are happy days. And that's not at the same time at all to say that there are no happy days. But a happy day is a happy day and it will come to an end. And then there will be another day. And, you know, we'll see. It just goes on unfolding. This is very kind of twig-like. It's like this can just this can just snap so easily. And this Himsa energy here in the Five of Wands, and this really kind of, yeah, just cack-handed attempts to sort of get things to be seen the way you want them to be seen, just leads over and over and over again to this. Because it's immoderate. And that immoderation here is only able to continue while this remains unseen. So there's an invitation here to open up to the power of this and let go of trying to bring about a particular outcome. Look up. Own your motivation. Own it. And by fully owning it, you will want to improve it. Because if you fully own your motivations in things, you know, you're going to find some kind of direction, some sort of, yeah, motivational like acts or actions that you've taken out of motivation, or that you would take, or you would kind of want to take, or whatever, that, you know, you might not be like too proud of. So, you know, fully owning your like karma here in the Knight of Wands, fully owning that is an invitation to improve it. And you certainly can improve it. You certainly can improve your karma. Definitely. Anyway, let's pull on this. Because this, I feel, is very closely, this Lover's card, the way it spoke to me when it came out, if I can put it in such a namby-pamby way. The energy of this today in this reading is really strongly linked to this Knight of Wands here. And again, you know, this wordlessness here in the Ace of Swords in the reverse. I mean, when, for example, if you like really truly love someone and somebody asks you why do you love that person? You can't really tell them. You can't really explain why you really love someone when you really love them. When you don't really love them, you can say, oh, they're really this and really that and blah, blah, blah. But when you really love them, you can't, there's nothing to be said about it. It's just because they're them. You just do. And that is part of this strength of will to manifest, you know, manifest new realities for ourselves through our actions, through our choices. And the combination of this, the power of this, in the context of this, is very, very interesting, because no one, as I say, has any control over this. No one. But this is about taking ownership of what you do and why you do it. Like warts and all. Very, very different. But I think in many ways, taking control in the energy of this Knight of Wands here, taking control of ourselves, not of situations, not of events, not of kind of co-created possible outcomes. And this is the co-creation of pleasing outcomes here, the Three of Cups, and in the reverse. It's not about that. It's about taking control of yourself and owning all aspects of it and seeing where unproductive choices and unproductive actions have led to unproductive outcomes. It's just as simple as that. But I think the reason why this is not seen is because there's a fear of this. This is fearful to many, like the random nature of some changes. Some changes are random, like they just happen. That's what this is. And in the face of that, like, you better, because otherwise, like, things will spin out of control, man. You know, if you're not like riding the horse of your own motivations and owning your actions, if you're not doing that in the light of this, you're in the shit, man. You end up running around trying to control everything and it doesn't work. Right, let's pull on the Lovers. Okay, we've got the Six of Pentacles. How beautiful. Fairness. The King of Wands now. And while I was talking about him riding the horse, I thought that's different from the king, because the king's not on a horse. I mean, the king's got the greatest power here. The king's got power superior, like motivational kind of ownership than the knight. But the knight has to learn how to ride the horse. This is about learning to ride the horse of your own life rather than be ridden by it and end up just careening around like a flipping crazed, you know, whatever. And that's achieved here in the King of Wands. I had an idea earlier for another way, or a kind of additional interpretative model, so to speak, for these readings. And I'm going to come to that in a minute, because it's starting to look possibly helpful. So we've gone from this wastage to like learning to ride ourselves, if you like, to like utter like security and like smooth operations here in the King of Wands. So let's get the sword. Okay, right, that was the Page of Swords in the reverse. My eye is drawn to that flock of birds there, and they're migrating, they're leaving. They're leaving for the winter. Where I live here in southwest England, it's like a departure point for a lot of birds, because I'm on the coast, and I guess it is all along the south coast of England. And so they're flocking at the moment. They're getting ready. They're chipping off for like 4 or 5 months. I don't blame them. So there's something leaving here. There's a choice here to reduce or to move away from, to migrate away from kind of idle, I mean, you might not be like participating in this, but there's still a very kind of, I don't know, light touch kind of slightly not slippy slidey, because that would indicate sort of cunning. There's an immaturity here about the nature of the communication of the nature of the acts of speech and mind. This is immaturity, and it's leaving. It's leaving, and that's really helpful. And there's a choice to let it go. There's more to this. I'll come back to it. Okay, and King of Cups in the reverse. So we've got emotional flexibility here in the context of this. All of these things are choices. All of these things, how we engage in exchange, fairness. I mean, this is not a negotiation here. This is kindness. This is dealing power through kindness. And I mean, you know, there's something in it for the merchant, like dishing out the carefully measured, may I say, alms to the poor. So I mean, he's getting good PR out of it, or maybe just gets to feel a bit like good about himself, and prevents the town of which he is a guild member, by the looks of things, from slipping into being a shite hole. So there's something in it for him. There's always something in it, you know, with power. As soon as we enact it, we're in some sort of deal. But this is simply enacting it out of generosity and kindness. So there's a choice there. Here, because, you know, topping all of this is the Lovers. And this, as I said, in this reading today, is about your heart's desire. This is like the Six of Pentacles here is like the minor arcana version of the Justice card. It's about fairness, balance, neutrality. You know, if we only give to people who we like, you know, what, like, bully for us, you know, if you only give to people, if you're only nice to people you like, that's just self-serving at the end of the day, isn't it? And that everyone else can just like go like F themselves, people you don't know, like the other driver you're huffing and puffing at on the road. Oof, just saying. Here, we're looking at the choice to either be in charge or not be in charge. This is about harnessing our own power in the face of the utter unknown of what's coming next. And this is a choice to enact that harnessed power. That's the possibility open to us here. It's a choice. And I mean, not all choices are per se binary choices, but there is a binary nature to it, which is why karma keeps us bobbing around the surreal upside down world of duality, because it's endless binary choices. Even if we're choosing one thing or three things, whatever, out of 1,000 things, in choosing the one, we have also acted upon the 99. So every choice is binary in the end. So, you know, that the heart's desire here, the kama, And it's the heart's desire. It's not the mind's desire. It's the heart's desire. Tama being the name, the yogic name, Vedic name for Eros. The little cherub there. And like, you can't argue with him. You can't argue with him. There's no point. Point on the arrow. Oh, there's no point in arguing with him. You have to be true to yourself. And that that means being fluid emotionally. That means acknowledging that there will be, I don't know, maybe some fear, there'll be some joy, there'll be some anger, be some sadness, you know, there'll be all sorts, all like it, they're all there. And to not be the kind of entity that needs to block certain bits off. He's on the block there. And he's just like got his arse like nailed to that fucking thing. So that he doesn't topple over into all that emotion swilling around him. Emotional self-control. You know, there's a fine line between emotional self-control and having something kind of stuffed down or denied or buried inside us. I mean, it's good to have self-control in the expression of your emotions. That's useful. But that's not necessarily the same thing as having certain like emotional elements to you that you keep like, yeah, boxed off from for fear of ending up in the drink, so to speak. So that's a choice as well. And it looks like there's sort of some fear around that, if I may. Because fear really is the only thing that can block us from pursuing our heart's desire. And the actions are all there for us to take. I want to come back to this. He's foxing me, this Page of Swords in the reverse. I wonder if there's a kind of progression here. And this is what I was thinking about earlier, the sort of progression horizontally within the suits. Because I really do feel, certainly in this wand progression here, we're going from this just like seepage, wastage of energy here to really getting hold of ourselves, to getting to the point of like self-mastery, basically. That's the direction of travel here. And it looks like that is a possibility. And of course it is. But it takes, I need to look at the progression of this, the swords here. So we're going from this like cat-handed, which is just what I keep coming back to for this Five of Swords in the reverse today. This cat-handed series of attempts to kind of create a particular perceptual environment here of words and thoughts, moving to this silence, the kind of wordless reality of this. I mean, as I say, what can you say? And how does that then feed into this Page of Swords in the reverse? Yeah, okay. Well, this is the departure of the immaturity with which some of us operate in the arena of words and thoughts here, because we can't go silent. I think I was saying that about this, wasn't I? Or this, well, I don't know if anybody watching this has ever done a silent retreat. You get used to silence pretty quickly, but you can't really live like that in the normal world. So you do have to, you have to be engaging in thought and word karma with people like all the time. And this is the departure, as I said, because my eye was drawn to that departing, migrating, like going south for the winter, that flock there. The departure of this immature, kind of inconsequential, possibly inconsequential in its constituent parts, but unfortunate possibly in its upshots. And it does bring me back a bit to this sort of cack-handed immaturity. But this energy here is more pernicious, much more pernicious, because there's already an element of duplicity about this card in its upright form. But I'm just seeing inefficiency, ineffectiveness in the duplicitousness. That's lots of nesses. So there's a choice here. Do we, and goodness me, okay. This card here with this young man in the middle, this is the Page of Swords, right? And this is this paradigm shift that I see in the card. I know, I've got strong heart's desire thing running through this card today. But in general, what I see in this card is like crossing a Rubicon. For this young man, he will cease to be primarily his mother's son and he will become his wife's husband. And that drive, I mean, it looks like a choice, but it's not really a choice. I mean, for goodness sake, unless he's a complete, like, a bit of a dead loss. It's fueled by the heart's desire. But it's the same lad. It's the same lad. And he's grown a pair, as Jeremy Kyle would put it. I'm sure it's not just him, but. And emotionally speaking, in this this choice column here, because this is all about what we choose. It's all about what we really want. And, that can apply in all sorts of ways, in all sorts of settings. For example, I made the mistake the other day of going to the supermarket when I was hungry. That's to do with wanting what we want. I'm going to, there's a flexibility to it here, an irrigidity. Here we've got immoderation, or some things that are immoderate. Here we've got fluidity. And this fluidity, it goes the way it goes. It flows the way it flows based on our heart's desire. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So best learn to ride that horse and find out what is down there. This is like the Strength card in the Major Arcana. What's down there? And what's controlling the forward motion here? Is it the rider or the horse? What's controlling it? Not necessarily facilitating it, but controlling it. Let's clarify. Okay, I'm going to split this card. Final clarification of this reading. Thank you so much for sticking with me. It's so lovely to be making films again. Okay, we've got Judgment in the reverse. Yeah, it just keeps happening, man. It just keeps happening. It's our flipping Groundhog Day. Nothing new. No new understanding of anything emerging from this sad energy here in this first column. And if this is not engaged with, you know, the kind of the humility of accepting that we are never going to have it all sorted. You never get to the end of that rainbow. And it does require a certain degree of humility to accept that, because we love to think of ourselves as entities that can bring about certain outcomes. And in certain settings and in certain contexts, we can. But this, we cannot. It happens or it doesn't. And there's absolutely fuck all we can do to control that or predict it with complete accuracy. To control it, we cannot control it. And it is quite a thing to allow yourself to just be like a bit of like balsa wood bobbing around in the middle of the fucking sea. That's what we are. Look, no fucking way, man. The strength card in the upright. When I was saying that about this card, this night I was saying this is the minor arcana equivalent of the strength card, I thought to myself, how fucking cool would it be if I pulled the strength card? And there it is. Well, there we go. That's what it's all about. It's about self-ownership and like taming oneself and not having this, like, not too much in any case, or sort of, you know, being aware of and like tempering maybe to some extent this like feral fucking little like beastie thing inside us that is somehow linked to our heart's desire. And that's where we have to really be honest. Yeah, there's an honesty in this tower energy. I mean, you know, you can't fake that. And that's why you better not just like look the other way. In a sense, it's the only thing that's real, is that you have no idea what's going to happen in the next 10 seconds. And that takes a bit of self-like management, really, if you really take that on board. So there it is. I mean, that's what the strength card is. It's self-management. It's like going down into those sacral and root chakra places, especially the sacral. Because when you understand like the pattern of what's going on in your sacral chakra and your very, very like proto emotional responses to things, if you really look at that, you will see patterns and a structure, which is what this lion is, will start to emerge. An object, a kind of mechanism will start to emerge. And then you can sort of, then you can come to understand it. And in understanding that, you'll work out the nature of the hull breach, shall we say, of the root chakra. And then you can work on that. Anyway, let's pull the last one. Yeah. Ooh, the Empress in the reverse. Goodness me. Oof, blimey. Okay. Right, what I'm getting off this is that karmic proliferations, which is what a lot of what seems to happen to us is actually made of. I remember once this dude, right, he made a bit of a pass at me, and I'll say it was this lad who worked in the supermarket, right? He was young enough to be my son, and you know, sometimes we'd have a little chat and say hello, and bit by bit we started having like a bit longer chats. And he was telling me about all stuff going on in his life and la 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 and all this. And he started going on about Tony Robbins and and then one day I bumped into him in the car park at the supermarket. It was just ending or beginning a shift, and I was going in there for something, And he made a bloody pass at me, like not a physical one, but he kind of basically said, oh, you know, I want to see you, like, can I take you out and all this? And then he suddenly went all, because I'm like, oh, well, and he suddenly went all shy and everything. And he said, oh, God, he said, I wasn't expecting that to happen. And he was talking about the fact that he just asked me out. And he referred to it as something that happened. It's like, I didn't know. You did it, laddie. Yeah, you did that. I mean, it's, you know, it's no biggie. I capped it off, you know. But all that to say that the growth of karmic structures and karmic connections, the growth of karma, which is not what we want. We don't want it to grow and proliferate and sprout. What we want to do is peacefully, like, rein it in. And it is possible, because the Empress here represents inexorable growth and fertility. And I mean, you know, we are all like massively karmically fertile entities. And that's one of the really extraordinary things about having been born human, having incarnated human. Because, you know, we're just so powerful karmically. And that means we also have the power to improve our karma, which we most definitely can. Yeah, you see? And it is within our power to kind of cap stuff off. And I'm getting that now strongly off the Page of Swords in the reverse here. Is that just like, no, like you can move away from that. And that's what I was seeing in the birds migrating as well. You know, there are ways to kind of limit certain karmic proliferations if we are willing to engage fully with this lion here, in the context of the utterly random nature of how karmic proliferations express themselves. And the failure to engage with that just keeps us on this, like, it's just going round and round. Very sad. So the key card in here is the Knight of Wands. Learning to ride the horse of your own self. Right. I'm going to stop pontificating and leave that there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.